The day a split-second decision changed everything.
It was just a regular Tuesday morning. I was running late for work, as usual, and the streets were buzzing with commuters. I took my usual route to the subway, headphones in, mindlessly scrolling through my phone. As I approached the station, I noticed a commotion near the crosswalk. A man was arguing loudly on his phone, pacing back and forth near the edge of the curb. Something about him seemed off. He was fidgeting, his movements erratic. But I brushed it off as just another city moment. The light turned green, and I started crossing the street. That's when I heard it, a screech of tires. I turned to see a delivery truck barreling down the hill, its brakes clearly failing. It was headed straight for the intersection, where a group of people had just started crossing. Time slowed. I froze for a second, my brain racing. I wasn't in the truck's direct path, but the man on the phone was. He didn't seem to notice what was happening. He was too caught up in his argument. Without thinking, I dropped my bag and sprinted toward him. I grabbed his arm and yanked him back onto the sidewalk just as the truck plowed through the crosswalk, missing him by inches. The sound of metal grinding and people screaming filled the air. The man stared at me, wide-eyed, his phone slipping out of his hand. You just saved my life," he stammered. I didn't know what to say. My hands were shaking, and my heart was pounding in my chest. All I could think was, what if I hadn't acted? The aftermath was a blur. The truck eventually came to a halt after hitting a parked car. Luckily, no one was seriously injured, but the scene was chaotic. Sirens, bystanders calling 911, and people comforting each other. The man I saved turned out to be a dad on his way to pick up his kids. He thanked me profusely, saying he didn't know what he'd do if he hadn't made it home that day. That moment stuck with me. It reminded me how fragile life is and how a single decision made in an instant can change the course of everything. I'm not a hero. I'm just someone who couldn't stand by when it mattered most.